Hello again, everyone. A quick warning. I'm in kind of a shitty mood today, so this video could get very loud very quickly. I have a lot of stress and negative emotions to vent, and who better to take them out on than another SJW retard. Today we'll be responding to another video by everyone's favorite purdy feminist princess, Claudia Boleyn. Let's begin.
Hello everybody, Claudia Boleyn here. Welcome to my Being a Social Justice Warrior series. Today's video is going to be about egalitarianism. A lot of people have asked me to talk about my thoughts on egalitarianism, and I have said I'd do that, so I thought it was finally time to bite the bullet and make this video.
It would certainly improve my mood to see a video of you biting on something else, if you get my meaning.
It's just going to be my opinions on the topic. Feel free to have your own and say what you want in the comment section. I'm going to make a response video to this, as I always do, next week. So if you feel like I've got something wrong about egalitarianism or there's something you'd really like to say, I'm also going to set you some questions to answer as well.
Well, if you ever stumble across this video, I'll gladly answer your questions.
The question I get asked a lot online is, why aren't I an egalitarian? Or rather, why am I a feminist instead of an egalitarian?
Because you're a dumbass. Case closed.
Now, initially I wouldn't have called myself an egalitarian. I would have called myself a feminist, and I still do call myself a feminist.
Okay, let's play second grade for a little bit and do a little vocabulary here. Feminism, the advocacy of women's rights on the grounds of political, social, and economic equality to men. Egalitarianism, of relating to or believing in the principle that all people are equal and deserve equal rights and opportunities. Both of these things mean virtually the exact same thing. So the fact that you still classify yourself as a feminist makes you look very selfish, and only consolidates the fact that feminism is not really about equality, but about female superiority. It can't be about female equality because women in the Western Hemisphere are already equal.
I think maybe I do also count as an egalitarian. I think maybe I am a feminist and an egalitarian. Some people don't think those things can coexist, but from my understanding of the term and from my research I've done, I think I'm probably both. So, having read into this, I do think that maybe, yes, I am an egalitarian. Perhaps I've been an egalitarian all along, but I don't think that negates my feminism.
Get to the point.
Now, what I've found a lot online, and I've been on lots of... It's difficult to find the information. I've been on forums, message boards, all sorts of things where people are debating. I think that if the main principle of egalitarianism is creating equality for all people, then feminism is an important movement to create that egalitarian society. If an egalitarian society is one in which all people are equal, then surely we need to focus on the certain issues that different oppressed groups face to make people equal, so we get to that society. I mean, to me that seems like common sense, but a lot of people don't agree with that, and I respect that opinion.
For fuck's sake, get to the point!
So I want to explain before I go on to some examples what my understanding of egalitarianism is. Now again, this is a big movement. It's like feminism, so you can't say this is what all egalitarians think. But the sort of basic principles of egalitarianism, as I understand it, are that it's a way of creating an equal society by treating all people the same, and that all people should be equal. Like, that sounds good to me, that sounds great. But there are different ideas within that, as there are within feminism. And there are certain ideas within egalitarianism which I don't think work. So, for example, in a perfect world, treating everybody equally would be perfect. Now, this sounds incredibly weird to say that I don't agree with treating everybody equally.
No, considering that you're the one saying it, it actually makes perfect sense.
But actually, because of the society we live in, I don't believe we should treat everybody equally. Let me explain that to you before that sounds awful.
Too late.
Egalitarianism would work in a perfect world, where everyone was already equal. It would be a way of maintaining that status quo in which everyone is equal, and making sure everyone stays that way. That would be perfect. But I think we have to acknowledge that in the society we live in right now, people are not currently equal. People are not afforded the same rights. There's a lot of issues going on. Now, if we ignore these issues and just start treating people the same from this point, then I don't think the inequality is actually going to change.
That doesn't make any sense. Let's pretend for a little bit that your fantasy world, where people are at a higher place in society than others, exists. If everyone became equal, then that would instantly mean that it would be very possible for someone lower than someone else in the social totem pole to attain the same kind of status and prestige as the person who was previously above them.
Let me try and explain this a little better. I'm going to use my hands as a set of scales. So let's pluck a movement out somewhere. Okay, the LGBT community. So say you've got the LGBT community down here, and you've got the rest of society up here at the moment, because we're still fighting for very basic things, like to be able to marry each other, and we're still being attacked and...
Yes, because people who aren't LGBT are never attacked or disadvantaged in any way. The only victims in our society are in fact the LGBT community. Go fuck yourself.
This is the LGBT community down here, and this is the community of straight people and people who are non-LGBT. So if we use egalitarianism here, and we decide we're going to treat everyone equally, say we're going to give some support to the LGBT community here, but under egalitarianism, some people's egalitarianism...
Some people's egalitarianism? What the fuck is that supposed to mean? Does egalitarianism have a subjective definition now? I didn't really get that memo.
It means you also have to give support here to the people that don't really need it.
Who the fuck are you to decide which people need support and which people don't? What goddamn right do you have to sit there and pick and choose who in society is more valuable? You fucking bigoted, imperious cunt!
So instead of equaling things out to get to that perfect egalitarian society, what you're actually doing is keeping that distance between the groups. It's not really doing anything to sort out the inequality, really.
Again, you demonstrate that you have no fucking clue how equality works. If everyone is equal, then nobody is above anyone else. That's the whole fucking point of equality. It's in the goddamn name. Equality.
To use the Black Lives Matter movement here, there's a lot of people, I'm not saying all egalitarians think this, there's a lot of egalitarians out there with different ideas, but there are some egalitarians that disagree with the Black Lives Matter movement and think that it's appalling and that it should be the All Lives Matter movement. What I think that they're missing in this is that the Black Lives Matter movement is inherently an All Lives Matter movement.
If it was, then why does it insist on being called Black Lives Matter?
If you come at it from the position that everyone is equal and then you suddenly have a Black Lives Matter movement, I can understand why it would seem like black people wanted extra. They wanted more than everyone else. But if we actually look at what's going on, the actual situation is that black people in America are under some real pressure at the moment. I mean, they're getting killed by the police who are supposed to protect them. It's pretty awful.
Black people commit most of the violent crime in America, despite comprising only about 15% of the American population. And most of the instances that Black Lives Matter supporters cite as examples of police brutality were simply officers acting in self-defense. The most common killers of black people are not police, but actually other black people.
So this is not the black community coming from this position saying, give me more. It's the black community coming from this position saying, treat me the same as everyone else.
It is illegal in America for black people to be denied jobs, education, or equal pay due to them being black. If that's not equality, then I don't know what the fuck is.
So in saying Black Lives Matter, you are saying all lives matter. But the reason it's Black Lives Matter is that those are the lives that are not being respected at the moment.
So according to you, black people are the only minority in America who are attacked by police and suffer inequality. That is exactly what you're saying.
It's not saying that black lives are more important than other lives. It's saying that black lives matter too.
Do you have any freaking idea how little sense that makes? If someone is saying that all lives matter, I think it's safe to assume that black people are included.
I'm going to use my scales example again, because I don't know if I explained it right with the LGBT thing. So let's explain it really simply. Let's not talk about a social movement. So imagine you have two kids, and it's Easter morning, and one of your kids has 5 Easter eggs, and the other one of your kids, you just don't bother to get any Easter eggs. So one of those kids is going to be feeling pretty down, and is going to be wondering, why has my sibling got 5 Easter eggs? What's going on here? Now, when that child goes to you and says, please can I have some Easter eggs too? Please can I have 5 Easter eggs to make them equal with their sibling? It's no good you saying, well, that's not fair, we should all have 5 Easter eggs, and then you give both your children 5 Easter eggs, because in that instance, one sibling's going to have 10 Easter eggs, and the other sibling who started with none is going to have 5. So there's still going to be inequality.
That analogy is fucking garbage, and here's why. In your example, you state that the child who has no Easter eggs nags his father to give him 5 Easter eggs, but what you seem to fail to realize is that the parent is a complete idiot because he gives both of his children 5 Easter eggs without taking 5 away from the kid who he originally gave 5 of the eggs to. The kid without the eggs wanted the exact same amount as his sibling. So why would the father give 5 more eggs to the kid who already had 5? Why can't he just get 5 for the kid who didn't have any eggs to begin with? This doesn't even connect to real-life egalitarianism, because the validity of your conjecture hinges on the parent being a complete dumbass who doesn't know how to count. Many real-life institutions and social structures can't operate on that level of ineptitude, or else they would fucking collapse in on themselves.
That would make you a bad parent, by the way.
No, it just means you're a dumbass who doesn't know how to count.
Definition of egalitarianism. If your definition would be reaching equality, then under that definition, I would agree with egalitarianism and I would be all for it, and I guess that would make me an egalitarian. But if your definition is treating everybody exactly the same, then I don't think I agree with that, because I don't think that it's going to help anyone if we pretend society's fine as it is.
Holy non sequitur, Batman! Where did that come from? How does being an egalitarian mean that you're satisfied with the condition that society is currently in? Fuck, you're a dumbass. Do you ever listen to the nonsense that pours out of that pretty little mouth of yours?
Because if we act like everything's fine, this is the status quo, this is how it's going to be, and we're going to keep it equal here, then actually, if there are already some systems in place which aren't fair, if there's already oppression in society, then really that works to uphold inequality. And to me that seems like the opposite of the aim of equality, surely.
How is it that minutes ago you yourself read the dictionary definition of egalitarianism, yet you now seem to have completely forgotten what that definition is? Egalitarianism isn't creating an equal standard and then doing nothing afterward, you imbecile. It's fighting for equality wherever and whenever inequality occurs. The people who follow it believe that everyone deserves equal opportunities.
So I suppose in some cases I would call myself an egalitarian and a feminist. Can you be those two things at once? I think that you can.
No, you can't.
Under one definition of egalitarianism, I think you can be a feminist. I think if the definition you're using is reaching equality, then I think, yeah, it makes sense. And technically that makes feminists egalitarians, I suppose.
Oh yeah, feminists are egalitarians now. The same feminists who think that masculinity is toxic, who think all men are scum and potential rapists, who erroneously think that men have all the rights in the world despite numerous evidence to the contrary, who think men should be put in camps, the same feminists who trivialize and poke fun at men's hardships and strife, who try to silence men at every turn whenever men try to have a discussion with them. Yes, feminists are simply a fucking fabulous example of egalitarians.
Some people see feminism as wanting extra rights for women. And the reason I don't agree with that idea is that I don't think it's equal to...
How? Examples! Tell me one right now! One goddamn right that men have that women do not have! Tell me! Tell me right fucking now! Okay. I feel a lot better now. Thanks, Arnold.
Fuck you, asshole.
To start with. I think if men and women were already equal, then yes, the idea of women's rights in that situation would seem ludicrous because you'd already be equal, but I don't think that we are equal at this point. But the people that do think that and want to uphold the status quo think that anyone who wants to sort out some issues that we have is pushing for extra rights, and that's the issue. There are some egalitarians that do think that, and I just can't agree with that because I think there's no harm in looking at certain groups which need the extra help.
You have an uncanny talent for repeating yourself.
So I suppose my thoughts on egalitarianism are that in some instances I support it, but in other instances, in some interpretations of egalitarianism, I think it's actually worse than useless in some instances because it actually works to uphold inequality, and I think that's really bad.
So you support it in some instances, yet you don't agree with it because it upholds inequality. You can make trading cards out of all the contradictory shit that she says.
something here. Okay, so some questions I'd love you to answer in the comments section for the response video next week would be: are you an egalitarian? If so, then why is this? And if you're not, then why is this? Are there any egalitarian feminists out there? In which case, tell your story. Are there any egalitarians that despise feminism? Please also tell your story.
I despise modern-day feminism because it encourages hatred and malice towards men, and because it corrupted the hearts of some of my closest friends and made them hate me for simply disagreeing with them. You people are the poison of society. You thrive on hatred and you celebrate victimhood. It is my duty in life to tear the spine and head from your toxic philosophy, and I will do it. Fuck you, goodbye, and to all of my viewers, hunt well.